Jake stood in Zara's private chambers, looking out through a massive window at the stars beyond. 3 days had passed since the trials, and he was still getting used to the changes in his body. His vision was sharper, his mind worked faster, and he could somehow sense the flow of energy through the ethereal ship's systems. The radiation did more than just prove your connection to our legend, Zara said, as she joined him at the window. It activated dormant sequences in your genetic code. Dr. Harper has been studying the scans with our medical team. What did they find? Jake asked. Your DNA contains patterns that match our own in ways that should be impossible. It's as if human and ethereal biology were designed to work together, like two halves of a whole. Behind them, the door chimed, and Dr. Harper entered carrying a datapad. Her expression was troubled as she approached them. Jake, I've been analyzing your blood samples from before and after the radiation exposure. The changes are remarkable, but they're also concerning. Concerning. How? Lisa activated her datapad, showing him complex genetic charts that meant little to him but seemed to fascinate Zara. Your cellular structure is becoming more efficient. Your immune system is stronger than any human on record. Your brain activity has increased by 30%. But the changes aren't stopping. What does that mean? It means you're still evolving. The radiation triggered something that's continuing to alter your biology. I don't know where it will end. Zara studied the data with obvious interest. This is similar to what our historical records describe. The original Mark I underwent similar changes during his time with us. Perhaps this is how the connection between our species is meant to work. Before Jake could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Emergency lights flashed, and he could hear the sound of running feet in the corridors. Outside, Ben Carter's voice came through the communication system. Captain Morrison, please report to the command center immediately. We have a situation. Jake found the command center in chaos. Ethereal officers were working frantically at their stations, while holographic displays showed tactical information he couldn't fully understand. War Commander Dex stood at the center of it all, his face grim. What's happening? Jake asked. Long-range sensors have detected an approaching fleet, Dex replied. Ships we haven't seen for thousands of years. The Devourers have found us. Zara arrived just behind Jake, her face pale with fear. How is that possible? The Devourers were destroyed when the plague ended. Apparently not, Elder Keth said as he approached the group. Our legends speak of mechanical beings that fed on the cosmic plague, using it to power their ships and weapons. When the plague was cured, we assumed they had starved to death. It seems we were wrong. Jake watched the tactical displays as hundreds of red dots appeared at the edge of sensor range. How long until they reach us? 6 hours at their current speed, Dex answered. But that's not our biggest problem. They're not just coming for us. Long-range communications show they've detected the path between our space and yours. They know about Earth. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. How many ships? Over 1,000, Dex said quietly. Each one capable of destroying an entire planet. Jake felt the enhanced clarity of his altered mind, working through the tactical situation. Earth had no defenses against this kind of threat. The planet's orbital stations and patrol ships would be swept aside like toys. Billions of people would die before they even knew what was happening. We have to warn them, he said. Warn them to do what? Dex asked. Your species has no weapons that could harm a Devourer ship. Your technology is thousands of years behind theirs. Then we fight them here, Jake said. Stop them before they reach human space. War Commander Dex laughed bitterly. With what? We have 12 ships. They have over 1,000. We survived their first invasion only because the plague weakened them. Now they've had millennia to rebuild and grow stronger. Jake felt frustration building inside him, along with something else. The cosmic energy flowing through his altered. Biology seemed to respond to his emotions, making the air around him shimmer slightly. There has to be something we can do. Mystic Vera appeared beside Elder Kef, her white robes seeming to glow in the emergency lighting. Perhaps there is. The ancient texts speak of a joining between our peoples that could create something greater than either species alone. What kind of joining? Zara asked. The original Mark I didn't just cure the plague, Vera explained. He showed us how to combine ethereal wisdom with the unique qualities of his people. The records are incomplete, but they suggest that when our technologies are merged, they become far more powerful than the sum of their parts. Jake thought about his enhanced abilities, the way he could now sense the energy flows in ethereal technology. You're talking about integrating human and ethereal systems. More than that, Vera said. The texts speak of a symbiotic relationship, where human intuition and adaptability guide ethereal technology to achieve results neither species could accomplish alone. War Commander Dex looked skeptical. Even if that's possible, we have 4 human crew members and 12 ethereal ships. That's hardly an army. Then we need more humans, Jake said. He turned to Ben Carter, who had been monitoring communications from the horizon. Can you reach Earth from here? Not directly, Ben replied. But I can boost our signal through the ethereal communication network. It would take several hours for a message to reach Earth and several more for any response. Do it. Contact Admiral Kane at Fleet Command. Tell him we need every available ship sent to these coordinates immediately. Jake, Dr. Harper said quietly, Earth's entire deep space fleet is maybe 30 ships. Most of them are exploration vessels like the Horizon, not warships. Then we'll have to make do with what we have. As Ben worked to establish communication with Earth, Jake found himself studying the tactical displays with new understanding. His enhanced mind could process the information flows in ways that surprised him. He could see patterns in the Devourer fleet movements, weaknesses in there, formations that hadn't been obvious before. Zara, he said, can your people download tactical data directly into someone's mind? With the right interface, yes. But it would be dangerous for a human brain to process that much information. Jake touched his arm where the scar was hidden. Beneath his sleeve, I don't think I count as a normal human anymore. 6 hours later, Jake stood on the bridge of Zara's flagship as the Devourer fleet dropped out of hyperspace. The enemy ships were massive, each one the size of a small moon, their hulls black as deep space and covered with weapon arrays that could destroy planets. But they weren't facing just 12 ethereal ships anymore. Earth's deep space fleet had arrived an hour earlier, 28 vessels that looked tiny compared to the alien ships, but carried the determination of an entire species fighting for survival. Jake's mind was filled with the tactical knowledge of both civilizations. Human strategies merged with ethereal wisdom. He could see the battle as it would unfold, track hundreds of variables simultaneously, coordinate attacks across multiple ships at the speed of thought. All ships, he said into the communication system that now linked human and ethereal vessels. This is Captain Morrison. Today we face an enemy that wants to destroy everything we hold dear. But we're not the same species that faced them thousands of years ago. We're stronger now. We're united. On the main screen, the first Devourer ships began moving toward them, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Human vessels, use your maneuverability to stay out of their main weapon arcs. Ethereal ships, focus your shields on protecting the human vessels while they get into position. We're going to show these machines what happens when humanity and the ethereal collective fight as one. The first exchange of fire lit up space like a new sun. Devourer energy beams that could have shattered planets were deflected by ethereal shields, while human missiles guided by ethereal targeting systems found weak points in enemy armor that had never been exploited before. Jake felt the battle flowing around him. His consciousness expanded across the entire fleet. He was no longer just a ship captain giving orders. He had become something new, a living bridge between two species that were learning to fight as one. But even with their combined strength, they were outnumbered 50-1. As the battle continued, ships began to fall on both sides. The outcome was still far from certain. "Sir," Amanda Ross called from her position coordinating the human vessels. "We're detecting massive energy readings from the Devourer flagship. They're preparing some kind of super weapon." Jake felt his enhanced senses reach out across space, touching the minds of human and ethereal crew members throughout the fleet. For a moment, he could see through their eyes, think with their thoughts, understand their hopes and fears. And in that moment, he realized what the legends had really been trying to tell them. The joining of human and ethereal wasn't just about technology or tactics. It was about consciousness itself, about two species becoming something greater than either could be alone. "All ships," he said, his voice carrying across dozens of vessels, "prepare for full integration protocol. We're going to show the Devourers what they're really fighting against." Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon and watched the stars through the main window. 3 weeks had passed since they left Earth's orbit. The mission was simple enough: explore the Kepler 442 system and look for signs of life or useful resources. Nothing too exciting, just routine work that kept the crew busy and the science teams happy. Dr. Lisa Harper walked up beside him, holding her morning coffee. She was the ship's chief medical officer and one of Jake's oldest friends. They had trained together at the Space Academy years ago. "Any interesting readings today?" she asked. Ben Carter turned around from his communication station. He was young and eager, always hoping for something unusual to happen. "Still quiet out there, Captain. No signals, no energy readings, nothing that looks artificial." Amanda Ross nodded from her security post. She kept her eyes on the tactical displays even when things were calm. Sensors show the usual stellar activity. A few asteroid fields, some gas clouds, but nothing that suggests intelligent life. Jake sipped his coffee and looked at the data scrolling across his command screen. The Kepler 442 system had 3 planets. 2 were gas giants that offered nothing interesting. The third was a rocky world in the habitable zone, but they're long range. Scans showed no atmosphere thick enough to support life as humans knew it. "Let's do one more sweep of the outer system," Jake said. "If we don't find anything worth studying, we'll head back to Earth ahead of schedule." The crew went about their normal routines. Dr. Harper returned to her medical bay to run health checks on the crew. Ben monitored space traffic and background radiation. Amanda kept watching for any threats that might appear on their sensors. Jake reviewed mission reports and planned their route home. Then everything changed. "Captain," Ben's voice cut through the quiet bridge, "I'm picking up something unusual. There's a ship out there." Jake moved quickly to Ben's station. "The communications." Officer pointed at his screen, where a new contact had appeared. The ship was large, maybe twice the size of the Horizon. Its design was unlike anything in human databases. "How did it get so close without us detecting it?" Amanda asked. She was already at her weapons console, checking defensive systems. "I don't know," Ben replied. "It just appeared on sensors about 30 seconds ago, like it was hiding somehow." Jake studied the alien vessel on the main screen. It looked organic, with smooth curves instead of the sharp angles of human ships. The hull seemed to shift color slightly, from deep blue to purple to silver. No visible weapons, but that didn't mean much with alien technology. "Try to contact them," Jake ordered. "Standard first contact protocols." Ben worked at his console, sending signals on multiple frequencies. He tried radio, laser communications, and even simple mathematical sequences. The alien ship remained silent. It just sat there in space, apparently watching them. Should we withdraw? Amanda asked. We're not equipped for a real fight if they turn hostile. Jake considered their options. Fleet regulations said to call for backup when encountering unknown alien technology, but the nearest human ships were weeks away. By the time help arrived, this opportunity might be lost forever. First contact with an alien species was too important to handle carelessly, but it was also too important to waste. Keep trying to establish communication, he told Ben, but don't make any sudden moves. Amanda, keep our shields up, but don't power weapons unless they show aggression. Minutes passed in tense silence. The alien ship moved closer, but slowly and carefully. It seemed to be studying the horizon just as carefully as they were studying it. Jake found himself wondering what the aliens saw when they looked at his ship. Did they think humans were primitive, advanced, dangerous? Without warning, the alien vessel grew much larger on the screen, not because it was moving closer, but because something enormous was materializing around it. Jake realized they were looking at a much bigger ship that had been hidden somehow. The first vessel was tiny compared to this new arrival. Captain, Amanda said in a tight voice, we're being pulled in by some kind of tractor beam. Jake felt his stomach drop as the horizon began moving toward the massive alien ship despite their engines running at full reverse. Can we break free? Negative. Whatever they're using is stronger than our engines. The alien mothership opened, like a flower, revealing a docking bay large enough to hold a dozen ships the size of the horizon. Lights guided them to a landing platform, where they settled with a gentle bump. Atmosphere reads as breathable, Dr. Harper reported from her station. Slightly higher oxygen content than Earth normal, but safe for humans. To the bridge windows, Jake could see figures moving in the docking bay. They were tall and graceful, with pale skin that seemed to glow slightly. Their movements were fluid and careful, like dancers. Sir, Ben said quietly, they're requesting that you come aboard their ship. Just you, alone. Jake looked around at his crew. They were scared, but trying not to show it. Dr. Harper gave him a worried look. Amanda kept her hand near her sidearm. Ben waited for orders. Tell them I'll come, Jake said. But my crew stays safe on our ship. Captain, Amanda protested, we should go with you. No, if something goes wrong, you need to be here to get the ship home and report what happened. Jake straightened his uniform jacket. Besides, if they wanted to hurt us, they could have done it already. The airlock cycled open, and Jake stepped onto the alien ship. The corridor was beautiful, with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal. Soft light came from everywhere and nowhere, creating no shadows. The air smelled clean and fresh, like a forest after rain. 2 aliens escorted him through corridors that curved and flowed like natural caves. They were even more impressive. Up close. Their skin was pale blue-white, their hair was silver, and their eyes were larger than human eyes and seemed to hold starlight. They brought him to a large chamber where a female alien waited. She was clearly their leader, wearing robes that shifted color like oil on water. When she spoke, her voice came through a small device that translated her words into English. I am Commander Zara of the Ethereal Collective, she said. Welcome aboard our vessel, human captain. Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship Horizon. He replied, Thank you for not destroying us. Zara's expression was hard to read, but she seemed amused. Your species shows promise. We have been watching your expansion into space with interest. The chamber was warm, warmer than Jake was used to. He removed his jacket and hung it over his arm. As he did, his shirt sleeve rode up, revealing the jagged scar that ran from his left shoulder down to his elbow. It was an old injury from a mining accident on Mars 5 years earlier. The moment Zara saw the scar, everything changed. Her composed expression cracked. Her pale skin became even paler. She stumbled backward as if she had seen a ghost. The other aliens in the room moved closer to support her, their own faces showing shock and fear. Zara stared at Jake's arm, her large eyes wide with disbelief. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper, and she spoke in perfect English without her translation device. "You," she said, her voice shaking. "You can't be real." The silence in the chamber stretched like a tight wire. Jake stood frozen, his jacket still in his hands, while Zara stared at his scarred arm as if it might disappear if she blinked. The other aliens whispered among themselves in their musical language, their voices filled with what sounded like awe and fear. "Commander," Jake said carefully, "I don't understand what's happening here." Zara seemed to remember where she was. She straightened up and gestured to the other aliens in the room. "Leave us," she said in her own language. Then she added something else that made them all bow deeply before filing out through the curved doorways. When they were alone, Zara walked slowly around Jake, studying his scar from different angles. Her movements were careful, like someone approaching a wild animal that might bolt at any moment. "Show me the full length of it," she said quietly. Jake hesitated, then rolled up his sleeve completely. The scar ran from just below his shoulder down to his elbow, a jagged line of pale tissue that stood out against his skin. It had been caused when a mining laser malfunctioned on Mars, sending a beam of superheated energy across his arm. The doctors had done good work fixing the damage, but they couldn't remove the scar completely. Zara made a sound that might have been a sob or a laugh. She covered her face with her long, pale hands. When she looked up again, there were tears in her large eyes. "Impossible," she whispered. "The timing is all wrong. Your species has only just reached the stars. But the legend speaks of events that happened thousands of years ago." "What legend?" Jake asked. "What does my scar have to do with anything?" Instead of answering directly, Zara walked to one wall of the chamber. She placed her hand against what looked like smooth crystal, and the wall came alive with images. Jake found himself looking at what appeared to be a historical record, but the images moved and changed like a three-dimensional movie. "Long ago," Zara began, "my people faced extinction. A plague swept through our worlds, a cosmic disease that consumed entire star systems. It didn't just kill living beings. It destroyed planets, turned suns cold, left empty space where civilizations had flourished for millions of years." The images showed beautiful worlds covered in crystal cities, populated by beings like Zara. Then darkness came, spreading from system to system like ink dropped in water. Jake watched whole civilizations disappear in moments. "We tried everything to fight it," Zara continued. "Our greatest scientists, our most powerful technologies, our most desperate prayers to the universe itself. Nothing worked. The plague kept spreading, and we knew that soon there would be nothing left of the ethereal collective but empty space and cold stars." Jake watched the images with growing horror. He had seen war and death during his military service, but this was something beyond human experience. An entire galaxy being consumed by cosmic darkness. Then he appeared, Zara said, and the images changed again. Jake saw a figure walking through the crystal cities, moving among the ethereal people. The being was clearly not one of them. He was shorter, more solid, with skin darker than their pale blue, and on his left arm, clearly visible, even in the ancient recording, was a jagged scar that looked exactly like Jake's. "We called him the Marked One," Zara said. "He came from nowhere, speaking a language we had never heard, carrying knowledge we couldn't understand. But somehow, impossibly, he was immune to the plague, more than immune. His very presence seemed to weaken it. The images showed the mysterious figure working alongside ethereal scientists. Jake watched as they developed new technologies, new medicines, new ways of fighting the cosmic disease. Slowly, system by system, the plague began to retreat. He saved us, Zara said simply, not just from extinction, but from despair. He showed us that the universe was larger than we had imagined, that there were other forms of life we had never dreamed of. He gave us hope. Jake stared at the final image, which showed the scarred figure standing before a great assembly of ethereal leaders. The resemblance to his own reflection was unsettling. "What happened to him?" Jake asked. "He left," Zara replied. "When the plague was defeated and our civilization was secure, he told us that his work here was done. He said that someday his people would reach the stars, and that we would know them by the mark they carried, the same mark he bore." She turned to face Jake directly, her large eyes searching his face. "He promised that when his people came, they would be our partners in exploring the universe. That together, we could prevent such disasters from ever happening again." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "But that's impossible. Humans have only been in space for a few decades. Your legend talks about events thousands of years ago." "I know," Zara said. "That's why I said you can't be real. Either our historical records are wrong, or time itself works differently than we understand, or—" She paused, looking uncertain. "Or what? Or the universe has a sense of humor we've never appreciated." Before Jake could respond, the chamber door opened and an ancient ethereal entered. This being was older than any Jake had seen, with skin so pale it was almost transparent and hair like spun starlight. He moved with the careful dignity of great age. "Elder Keth," Zara said, bowing respectfully. "I ask not to be disturbed." "The crew is talking," the elder replied in accented English. "Word spreads quickly on a ship, even one as large as ours. They know something significant has happened." Keth approached Jake and studied his scar with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of centuries. "Remarkable," he said finally. "The resemblance is exact. Not just similar, but identical in every detail." "Elder," Zara said, "what if the prophecy wasn't about the future? What if it was about something else entirely?" The old being was quiet for a long moment. "I have lived for over 3,000 years," he said finally. "I have seen the rise and fall of civilizations, watched stars be born and die, witnessed the endless dance of time and space. In all those years, I have learned one thing above all others." "What's that?" Jake asked. Keth smiled, an expression that transformed his ancient features. "The universe is far stranger than any of us can imagine, and far more connected than logic would suggest. Perhaps your scar is just a coincidence. Perhaps our records are wrong. Or perhaps time is not the straight line we believe it to be." He placed a gentle hand on Jake's shoulder. "But what matters now is not how you came to be here, but what we do with this moment. My people have waited thousands of years for the return of our Savior's children. Whether you are truly connected to our legend or not, you are here now, and that changes everything." Zara looked between Jake and the elder, her expression troubled. "If word of this spreads beyond our ship, it will reach every ethereal world within days. Some will want to worship him as the fulfillment of prophecy. Others will demand proof that he's real. Still others will see this as a sign that the end times are coming. And we must be very careful about what happens next," Keth said. "The young human captain has stumbled into something much larger than a simple first contact between species. He has walked into the heart of our oldest and most sacred beliefs." Jake looked down at his scar, the simple result of an industrial accident that had nearly cost him his arm. Now it seemed to be the key to mysteries he couldn't begin to understand. "What do you need from me?" he asked. Zara and Kef exchanged a look that carried years of shared history and unspoken communication. Time, Zara said finally. Time to understand what this means. Time to decide how to proceed. And time to prepare both our peoples for what may be. The most important moment in galactic history. Jake nodded slowly. He had come looking for new worlds and resources. Instead, he had found a destiny he never wanted and a responsibility he wasn't sure he could handle. 2 days passed before Jake was allowed to return to his ship. When he finally walked through the airlock of the horizon, his crew surrounded him with questions and worried faces. Dr. Harper ran a full medical scan, while Ben and Amanda peppered him with questions about what had happened. They know something about humans that we don't know about ourselves, Jake told them as they gathered in the ship's small conference room. There's some kind of connection between our species that goes back thousands of years. That's impossible, Dr. Harper said, looking up from her medical scanner. Human civilization is only a few thousand years old, and we've only been in space for decades. I know how it sounds, Jake replied, but I saw their historical records. There was someone who looked exactly like me, with the same scar, who helped save their civilization long before humans ever left Earth. Amanda leaned forward across the table. Could it be some kind of trick? Maybe they're trying to manipulate us for some reason. To what end? Jake asked. They have technology far beyond ours. If they wanted to conquer Earth or steal our resources, they wouldn't need to create an elaborate deception. Ben had been quiet during the discussion, but now he spoke up. Captain, while you were gone, I picked up some interesting signals. There are more alien ships out there, lots of them. This isn't just one vessel, it's an entire fleet. Before Jake could respond, the ship's communication system activated. Zara's voice came through the speakers, translated into English by her device. Captain Morrison, we request that you and your crew join us in our main assembly chamber. There are others who wish to meet you. Jake looked around at his team. Stay together and stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into. The assembly chamber was enormous, large enough to hold thousands of beings. When Jake and his crew entered, they found it filled with ethereals from across the fleet. The beings were organized in groups, each wearing different colored robes that seemed to indicate rank or profession. Zara stood on a raised platform at the center of the chamber. Beside her were several other ethereals who carried themselves with the authority of leaders. As Jake approached, conversations throughout the chamber died away until the only sound was the soft hum of the ship's systems. People of the collective, Zara announced, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. I present Captain Jake Morrison of the human species, along with his crew members Dr. Lisa Harper, Communications Officer Ben Carter, and Security Chief Amanda Ross. A murmur ran through the crowd as thousands of large eyes focused on the small group of humans. Jake felt like a specimen under a microscope. One of the leaders on the platform stepped forward. He was tall even by ethereal standards, with robes that shifted from deep red to black. I am War Commander Dex, he said. Show us this mark you claim to carry. Jake looked at Zara, who nodded encouragingly. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing the scar that had started all of this. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Some ethereals fell to their knees. Others backed away in fear. Still others pressed forward for a better look. Silence, called another leader, this one wearing robes of pure white. I am Mystic Vera, keeper of the ancient prophecies. Let the human speak for himself. Jake found himself with thousands of aliens waiting for his words. He had given speeches before, but never to an audience like this. I don't know what to tell you, he said honestly. This scar came from an accident on Mars 5 years ago. I'm not a prophet or a savior. I'm just a ship captain who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. War Commander Dex laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. Accidents. Coincidences. The young human thinks the universe operates on random chance. Doesn't it? Jake asked. Show him the tests, Dex commanded. Zara looked uncomfortable. The Council has decided that we must verify your connection to our legend. There are 3 trials that the original Mark I underwent. If you are truly connected to him, you should be able to survive them as well. Dr. Harper stepped forward. Now, wait just a minute. You're talking about experimenting on a human being. I won't allow it. Peace, healer, Mystic Vera said gently. The trials will reveal truth, nothing more. If your captain is not connected to our prophecy, he will suffer. No harm. If he is connected, the trials will awaken abilities he does not yet know he possesses. Jake felt his crew's eyes on him. They were scared and angry, but they were also outnumbered by thousands of aliens on ships far from home. What kind of trials? He asked. Elder Keth appeared at the edge of the platform, moving slowly through the crowd. The first trial is exposure to the plague sample we have preserved. The original Mark I was immune to its effects. You want to infect him with an alien disease? Amanda's hand moved toward her weapon. The sample is contained and controlled, Zara said quickly. If he shows no immunity, we will treat him immediately with our most advanced medicine. And if I die anyway? Jake asked. Then we will know you were not the one foretold in our legends. War Commander Dex said coldly. Jake looked at his crew, and at the thousands of ethereals watching him. He thought about Earth, defenseless and alone in a galaxy full of beings with technology beyond human understanding. If there was even a chance that this could lead to an alliance, he had to take it. I'll do it, he said. Dr. Harper grabbed his arm. Jake, this is insane. You don't know what that plague might do to human biology. We don't have a choice, Lisa. We're representatives of our entire species here. If this goes wrong, at least you'll be able to tell Earth what happened. The trial took place in a medical chamber deep within the ethereal ship. Jake lay on a table that seemed to be grown rather than built, while alien doctors prepared their equipment. The plague sample was kept in a containment field that made the air around it shimmer. The exposure will be brief, the chief medical officer explained. Just enough to test your immunity. If you begin to show signs of infection, we will immediately activate our countermeasures. Jake nodded, trying to appear more confident than he felt. Dr. Harper stood nearby with her own medical scanner, ready to monitor his vital signs. The containment field opened, and a small amount of the plague sample was released into the air around Jake. He breathed it in, feeling nothing unusual at first. Then his vision began to blur, and his skin felt like it was burning. Something's wrong, Dr. Harper called out, watching her scanner. His cellular activity is going crazy. But then something strange happened. The burning sensation faded, replaced by a feeling of energy and clarity. Jake's vision cleared, and he felt more alert than he had in years. The plague sample, still visible as a dark mist in the air, began to break apart and dissolve. Impossible, whispered the ethereal doctor. The plague is being neutralized by his presence alone. War Commander Dex stared at the dissolving plague sample, his expression unreadable. One trial passed. But there are 2 more. The second trial involved touching an artifact that the original Mark I had left behind, a crystal device that supposedly contained his genetic signature. When Jake placed his hand on it, the crystal began to glow with warm light and displayed star maps showing the path from Earth to the ethereal homeworld. 2 trials passed, Mystic Vera announced to the assembled crowd. Only one remains. The final trial was the most dangerous. Jake had to be exposed to the raw cosmic radiation that powered ethereal technology, the same force that gave their ships their incredible abilities. No non-ethereal had ever survived such exposure. "This is where we stop," Dr. Harper said firmly. "I won't let you kill him with radiation poisoning." But Jake was beginning to understand something about himself that he had never known before. The trials weren't testing whether he was connected to the legendary figure. They were awakening something that had always been inside him, waiting for the right moment to emerge. "It's okay, Lisa," he said. "I can feel it now. Something in my DNA is responding to their technology. It's like two pieces of a puzzle fitting together." He entered the radiation chamber alone, while his crew and thousands of ethereals watched. Through protective barriers, the energy that flowed around him should have killed him in seconds. Instead, it made him feel more alive than ever before. When he emerged from the chamber 20 minutes later, his skin was glowing faintly with the same energy that powered the ethereal ships. His mind was clearer, his reflexes faster, his understanding of the universe around him deeper than it had ever been. War. Commander Dex knelt before him, followed by Mystic Vera, and finally by thousands of ethereals throughout the chamber. "Forgive our doubt," Dex said. "You are indeed the one foretold in our prophecies. But this brings new questions. If you are the descendant of our ancient savior, what does that mean for both our peoples?" Jake looked out at the sea of kneeling aliens, then at his crew, who stared at him with expressions of awe and fear. He felt the cosmic energy flowing through his veins and knew that his life as a simple ship captain was over. "I think," he said slowly, "it means we're going to need to have a much longer conversation." The full integration protocol was something that had never been attempted before. Jake felt his consciousness expand beyond his physical body, connecting directly with the computer systems of both human and ethereal ships. Through the neural interfaces, he could sense the thoughts and emotions of every crew member in the combined fleet. Dr. Harper's medical training helped her coordinate damage control across multiple vessels. Ben Carter's communication skills allowed him to relay tactical information instantly between ships that had never worked together before. Amanda Ross used her security training to identify weak points in Devour defenses that neither species had seen individually, but it was more than just shared knowledge. The joining created something entirely new. Human creativity and adaptability merged with ethereal wisdom and advanced technology to produce solutions that neither species could have imagined alone. Devourer Super Weapon Charging, War Commander. Dex reported through the shared network. "Energy readings are off our scales." Jake could see the massive enemy flagship through sensors on dozens of ships simultaneously. The weapon it was preparing would destroy half their fleet in a single shot. But his enhanced perception was showing him something else, a pattern in the energy flow that reminded him of something from his mining days on Mars. "All ships with mining equipment," he said, his voice reaching human vessels throughout the fleet. "Target the Devourer flagship's weapon array with everything you have. Don't try to damage it. Try to overload it." "Sir," Amanda called back, "mining lasers won't even scratch their armor." "They're not supposed to scratch the armor. Trust me." 6 human ships opened fire with industrial mining lasers, weapons designed to cut through asteroid rock, not fight space battles. The beams struck the Devourer Super Weapon just as it reached full charge. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The mining lasers didn't damage the weapon, but they created interference in its energy matrix. The Super Weapon tried to fire, but instead of a focused beam, it released a chaotic burst of energy that tore through the Devourer flagship's own hull. "Impossible," Mystic Vera whispered through the shared link. "How did you know that would work?" "Mining. Accident on Mars," Jake replied, his consciousness still spread across the fleet. "I learned that sometimes the best way to deal with too much energy isn't to stop it, but to give it somewhere else to go." The destruction of their flagship sent ripples of confusion through the Devourer fleet. For the first time in the battle, their formations wavered. Jake seized the opportunity. All vessels concentrated attack on Grid 77 Alpha. Human ships provide cover while ethereal vessels focus their main weapons. The combined fleet moved like a single organism. Human ships darted between the massive Devourer vessels, their smaller size and superior maneuverability keeping them alive in the crossfire. Ethereal ships used their advanced shields to protect the humans while unleashing weapons that could crack moons. But the battle was taking its toll. Several human ships had been destroyed, and even the powerful ethereal vessels were showing damage. Jake could feel the fear and exhaustion of the crew members throughout the fleet, their emotions flowing through the neural link. "We can't keep this up much longer," Zara said privately through their connection. "Even with the integration, we're still outnumbered." Jake felt the same concern, but he also sensed something else through the link. The Devourer ships were old, some of them thousands of years old. They had been built to fight the cosmic plague, not living beings with creativity and unpredictability. "I have an idea," he said, "but it's going to require everyone to trust me completely." Without waiting for a response, Jake opened his consciousness fully to the shared network. For a moment, every human and ethereal in the fleet could see through. His eyes think with his thoughts, feel what he was feeling. Through the connection, he showed them what he had learned during the trials on the ethereal ship. His DNA didn't just contain sequences that matched ethereal biology. It contained information, genetic memories from the original Mark I, who had fought the plague thousands of years ago. "The Devourers aren't just machines," he explained through the link. "They're powered by cosmic plague energy, the same force that nearly destroyed the ethereal collective. But that energy has a weakness. It can be turned against itself if you know how." Jake began uploading the genetic memories directly into the ship's computers, translating ancient knowledge into modern tactics. The information spread through the fleet like wildfire, showing every crew member exactly what they needed to do. "All ships, new targeting priority," Jake announced. "We're not trying to destroy the Devourer vessels. We're going to cure them." What followed was unlike any space battle in galactic history. Instead of trying to blow up the enemy ships, the combined fleet began targeting their power systems with modified weapons that carried the same energy signature Jake had absorbed during his trials. The effect on the Devourer ships was dramatic. One by one, their dark hulls began to brighten as the plague energy that powered them was neutralized. Some ships simply shut down, their crews of mechanical beings falling into dormancy. Others exploded as their corrupted power systems overloaded, but the largest Devourer vessels fought back with desperate fury. Their commanders seemed to realize what was happening and concentrated their remaining forces for a final assault on Earth itself. "They're breaking through," War Commander Dex reported. 17 ships heading directly for your homeworld." Jake felt the terror of his own species as the Devourer vessels entered the solar system. Earth's orbital defenses engaged them, but the weapons were pathetically inadequate against such advanced technology. "I can stop them," Jake said through the neural link, "but I'll need to get close, very close." "That's suicide," Dr. Harper protested. "Those ships will destroy anything that gets within weapons range, not if they can't see me coming." Jake began transferring his consciousness more deeply into the ship's systems, becoming less human and more something else entirely. The cosmic energy that flowed through his altered biology spread into the vessel around him, making both ship and captain something new. Zara's flagship began to change, its hull becoming transparent to sensors, its energy signature fading until it was nearly invisible to Devourer detection systems. Jake guided the ship through the solar system like a ghost, passing between enemy vessels without being detected. When he reached Earth's orbit, Jake could see the planet below, beautiful and blue, and completely defenseless against the weapons pointed at it. The Devourer ships were preparing to fire, their massive guns charging with enough energy to crack continents. "This is Captain Jake Morrison." He broadcast on all frequencies, knowing that people on Earth, as well as throughout the fleet, could hear him. To anyone listening, remember that today humanity proved it doesn't stand alone in the universe. We have friends among the stars, and together we're stronger than any enemy. Jake opened his consciousness completely, allowing the cosmic energy within him to flow freely into space. The power that had been locked in his genetic code for thousands of years erupted outward in a wave of pure life force. The wave struck the Devourer ships just as they fired on Earth. But instead of destroying the planet, their weapons were transformed by Jake's energy, becoming healing beams that repaired the damage they had caused throughout the galaxy over millennia. The mechanical beings that crewed the Devourer ships felt consciousness and free will for the first time in thousands of years. They had been slaves to the cosmic plague, but now they were free to choose their own destiny. When the energy wave finally faded, Jake found himself floating in space in an escape pod, his ship destroyed by the forces he had unleashed. But Earth was safe. The Devourer fleet was neutralized, and the galaxy was finally free of the cosmic plague's influence. Zara's ship rescued him 6 hours later. When he awoke in the medical bay, he found his crew and several ethereal friends waiting for him. "The Council has made a decision," Zara told him. "The ethereal collective and humanity will form a permanent alliance. Your people will be given access to our technology and knowledge, while we learn from your creativity and courage." "And you?" Jake asked. "What happens to you?" Zara smiled, an expression that made her alien features beautiful. "I've been appointed as the first ethereal ambassador to Earth. It seems I have a certain expertise in dealing with legendary figures who insist they're just ordinary ship captains." Jake looked at his hands, which still glowed faintly with cosmic energy. The scar on his arm had changed too, becoming a pattern of light that pulsed with his heartbeat. "I'm not sure I count as ordinary anymore." "Good," Dr. Harper said from across the room. "Ordinary people don't save entire galaxies. Besides, there are still dozens of other species out there with legends about scarred saviors. Someone needs to help them understand that their prophecies are about cooperation, not conquest." Jake smiled at the thought of more adventures among the stars, more species to meet, and mysteries to solve. The universe was vast and full of wonders, and now humanity had partners to help explore them. Through the window of the medical bay, he could see Earth growing larger as they approached home. Soon he would have to explain to his superiors how a routine exploration mission had turned into first contact with alien civilizations.